the Indie Show, a talk show for and with creatives. I'm so stoked today. We're bringing back, by popular demand, Kent Heckel. If you missed the last episode that we did with Kent, it's one of our most popular interviews. Kent just has so much freaking knowledge to drop. Kent, I feel like I should introduce you, but you're wearing a lot of hats right now. So can you just give us a quick up to speed version of what you're currently up to, and then we'll dig into things.
Yeah, of course. Well, I guess during the day, I am a video editor at HoneyBook. I'm the producer of their content. A lot of you guys have heard of HoneyBook, I'm sure. And then by night, I am a YouTuber, content creator. I love live streaming video. And the biggest one right now is social media consulting. Like, I am building out a business right now. I'm super excited about like the direction I'm able to take. I just am trying to have fun being me. And I'm 22 years old, just kind of, I don't know, doing whatever it is that I do. But I've been on social media so long, I was like, it's time to just start sharing all of this knowledge that I've gotten. I recently did work with BuzzFeed, and we wrote a story about my experience in the dark web of social media. And this is, I think, a place in social media that not really anyone knew about. And I thought it was fun to bring it to light. So I'm excited to finally be like talking about it and just sharing this. I've been doing this for 3 years, and now I want to share all of it.
That's awesome. If you guys are just catching the live version or watching the replay, Kent is a social media savant, really. Kent, you started out doing vlogging on YouTube, and that was how long ago?
That was, about 5 years ago now.
Man.
Yeah, right.
And from that, you've now gotten to a place where, like you said, you work at HoneyBook. Shout out to the HoneyBook folks.
HoneyBook.
You are working on your own clothing line.
Yes.
Which is just awesome. And so that's like urban apparel.
Yeah. It's like streetwear vibes. It's kind of just whatever I'm feeling at the time. So whether that's sweatshirts, whether that's backpacks, I don't know, all the things.
I love it. And like you said, you recently posted and BuzzFeed picked it up about the dark web. Can you tell us a little bit about kind of what that is and what you learned there?
Yeah. So it's basically a community of, for lack of a better term, but this is the best term, social media manipulators. People who either figured this stuff out for necessity, and that's kind of where I fell into this, was my social media trailed off. I lost my engagement. I lost not necessarily followers, but people just didn't see my content anymore or didn't want to care about it anymore. Yeah. So I was like, what do I need to do to get that back? And then I found a community of people who had solved that or had done many, many things to try and solve it. And, kind of following that stream of whether this was making bots, whether this was joining public groups, whether this was taking those engagement groups that a lot of us are familiar with and just making them automatic. And now I run them out of my apartment on tiny little computers. I don't know if I have one around here, but like it was kind of a necessity thing. I just figured out what I needed to do to win on social media, and I did what I had to do, and I don't regret it.
I love that phrase, winning on social media, because I think that better than most that it's one thing to have a lot of followers on social media or to have like a perceived big following, and it's another thing not only to have engagement, but to have that engagement directed towards something that is helping your business. Yeah. We've talked about it. So many business owners right now are getting caught up, I think, in not really knowing how to use marketing in a way that is minimizing time wasting and really getting to the bottom line. Hi to Nancy. Nancy, we love it when you come on and support us. Thanks for tuning in. Nancy, you would actually love this guy. Kent, can you tell us a little bit about kind of what is the dark web? And what's the dark web side of social media?
So the dark web of social media, think of it more like a Craigslist of social media. So there's like dark web, which I think we think of immediately of like this really scary buy, sell, sketchy things.
Yeah.
And there is that. Like it is, let's see. There's like a sketchy way to get there, and there's really scary stuff that can be done on that side of things. And we can maybe dive into those a little bit later. Those are pretty.
Yeah. This is a legal show. We won't go into the stuff we probably shouldn't be doing.
We kind of on the Craigslist side of things. So it all takes place on this thing called Telegram, or just through a community, basically, of people who know each other and can perform tasks for others. And you kind of just tip people to do certain things.
Yep.
And this would include like, there are people who buy, sell everything, whether that's accounts, whether that's followers, likes, engagement, views, comments, shares, everything. Like everything is packaged on websites. It looks as beautiful as Squarespace. It's terrifying. And that's just like a part of the world that you kind of have to deal with. But then there's also people building bots, and there's also people who can now have the same access that like Facebook employees have to back end Facebook things. It's very strange what these people have been able to like figure out how to do.
So what does this mean to like the average business owner, the average small business owner that conducts business online? Like what do they need to know about this kind of behind the scenes, like Nancy says, dark social media?
I think, behind the scenes of social media, that's a great way to put it. I think what you just need to know that it exists, whether you participate in it or not. I just want everyone to be aware, because I don't want anyone to get really stressed or angry or like freaked out that they're not winning on social media or they're not seeing success. Maybe they're pouring a lot of time into it and they're not growing. And I just want you to know that like there are people out there that are doing it in ways that aren't exactly traditional or correct, honestly. Yeah. They're doing what they have to do, and you can't really beat that. And I think acknowledging that sometimes you just can't beat a bot that is trained to do this all day, like, and that's okay. It's all about just finding the right people. And so what I've been able to like really specifically figure out is how to target what I'm posting and how to actually get my content in the hands of the people that want to see it. So maybe it's hard to say like, oh, a social media consultant who only has 11,000 followers on Instagram. It's like, sure, you can talk about how I maybe have not been super successful there, but at the same time, I've targeted the exact right people that I want to be working with, and I can sell out my fashion line in, an hour. Like I did exactly what I wanted to do. Like I'm right where I want to be, and I think that's where I want everyone is right where they want to be. Right where
let's focus on that point real quick, because a lot of people in both my group and kind of who tune in to these episodes tend to be kind of online retail stores. Especially kind of apparel and selling stuff like through Instagram. What's some stuff that you've learned? You always have some really great tips and tricks. What are things that people who are selling products online, especially through Instagram, what are things that you're seeing is working right now?
Some things that I see are working right now. I talked about this, I think, briefly on the last episode, but pairing up and making groups, and not just like, oh, we like each other's stuff and we comment on each other's stuff. Yeah. Like work as a group, make content together, whether that's like, you're on Instagram stories and you're like, oh, we saw what this brand is doing. We think that's really cool. Talking about them, giving yourself a personality to be able to talk to someone else like on brand. Oh, sorry. My little puppers is saying, hey, he's a cute little one. Oh, come up right now. He's shy. But yeah, I think connecting with other people, creating a group of like shouting each other out, but just talking about each other's content. Definitely the biggest thing I can suggest is just making content. If you're focused on making good things and not maybe just sharing all the time, but providing and being a part of a community. Yeah.
So that's a great point. And that's not really something that I had thought about, especially on Instagram. When you say build a community, do you mean build a community of like other people who are selling things in the same ballpark as you, or like building a community just between you and your followers?
That could be, I would honestly say both. Okay. Like Joey, for you specifically, let's just talk about that. Like, I think you have an amazing community. I know through your social media and through what you post, who you hang out with. And I love that. I love being able to follow that entire circle because I feel like I'm really a part of something. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I feel like I'm a part of your friends group. I love all of it. Yeah. And so you see that on like a lot of these big pages, it's like, oh wait, they're kind of all hanging out together, to not really dive deep into the meme pages. But if you look at it, all the meme pages, they just talk about each other in a big circle. So you need to follow all the meme pages. Yeah. But think about that like on a much smaller level. If you're a retailer, what if you were like working with maybe a retailer who's similar but not the same? So maybe not a direct competitor, but a competitor that like you could both mutually benefit from both things. I don't know.
So what does that look like when you say build community? Does that mean something like as literal as like what's it called? Story takeovers, or just kind of like supporting what each other is putting out?
I think definitely both of those things. I would mostly say the second one though. Okay. I think story takeovers and stuff like that is great. I think mostly just being there for each other. One of the biggest things I see right now is the Instagram comments have changed. I mean, let's just dive into Instagram. I think that's what
Let's
we're
do
talking
it. Yeah.
The Instagram comments have really changed. And how do I say this? It's kind of like Reddit or an Imgur. If you've never been to those if you've never been to those websites, it's mostly just for like funny content where someone will post something and all the comments are ranked by whatever has the most upvotes.
Okay.
So whoever is commenting the most valuable stuff, that's the comment that sits at the top. But imagine if that comment was now your brand, and every time you comment on something, it's now another link back to you. So like commenting on someone else's work, say it's another brand, you're not only supporting them, but you're also putting basically another backlink to you. And if you can provide value to that comment section, like say, for example, right now I'm working with, I can't say the name of the brand, but I'm working with a women's fashion line. Like
Yeah. Awesome.
Brand. And one of the things that we're trying to talk about is like, okay, let's have a personality here. So if we're commenting on, say, Beyonce's Instagram, what would Beyonce's followers want to see that they would like, that would then have our comments sit right at the top? So doing that, it just kind of like creates a big circle. And I know I'm talking.
Interesting. No, well, this is great. And I do want to let people know that Kent is now doing consulting work with small business owners. So if you guys are looking for somebody to kind of provide high level social media or marketing consulting, like Kent really knows his stuff. And I gotta say, Kent, you've got a better pulse on like how to leverage what's going on right now than like anybody else that I've met. So
think of it this way, this is my biggest focus is I'm one of the only people that's kind of consulting who's also just on the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm doing it for myself at the same time.
Right.
I'm growing repost accounts. I'm growing my own personal brand through YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Like, I don't know who else is like the consultant that is like there. I'm consulting myself at the same time. Like, I'm with you guys.
So if you're just joining us, we're interviewing the one and only Kent Heckel right now. And I guess Kent, the best, the best phrase to use, I guess, for an overarching topic for this is social media manipulators and manipulation.
Yes.
And I really liked when you kind of showed me that phrase, because I want to be clear. We're not talking about like doing legally gray things, but it's kind of really understanding how to really think creatively about how to do what's currently there.
Yeah.
Hack it in ways that isn't currently being done, so that you can use these marketing tools in ways that your competitors aren't using, your customers aren't used to seeing, and are getting a lot of value out of. So Instagram, can you tell me a little bit about kind of like where people should start? I think that there are quite a bit of followers, especially people who are on Facebook, who are just kind of getting their feet wet on Instagram, and they're not really sure, especially as a business owner, do I use it as a place to sell what I'm offering? Do I just use it as a place to kind of have a businessy type journal type experience? How would you recommend that people start?
All right. Well, it basically all comes down to one word for me. All of social media, but most specifically Instagram, is value. Okay. I think if you're going to be a business on social media, excuse me, my throat is so hoarse today. If you're going to be a business on social media, surprise. I want you to have a voice, and I want you to always be providing value, because why would anyone follow your brand? Like, sure, I like Converse a lot. That's one of my biggest things. And the reason I follow Converse so dearly and so like obsessively is because they post amazing things. They also create a really cool like community around what they do. And we just talked about community, but we can dive even deeper into that. But I'm saying, like, if you're a business or a brand and you're going to be on social media, what is it that you can provide a follower that they can't get somewhere else, or that makes them want to actually care about your business? Like, other than maybe you make a good product, do you offer funny content? Are you an aggregator of great things on the internet? Are you doing things for a local community that someone could care about? Yeah. I think really showing that is so important, because then you're not just another one of these accounts. Like, if you're another one of those accounts, we all know exactly what I'm talking about. You pull up Instagram, you see a beautiful photo, and you're like, oh, I've never heard of travelluxury.123 before. And you go to the page and you're like, oh, this is just one of those. They just post these photos. Like, I don't want you to be one of those. I want you to be one of the accounts where someone comes to it and they're like, wow, this is not what I expected. They have all of these things here. There's so many like cool things that maybe you or a viewer or a follower could attach themselves to. Maybe it's a food thing. Maybe it's a meme thing. Maybe it's a, like I said, local thing. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think that's great. You know, I work pretty closely with another social media person. Shout out to Adam, if he's watching, Adam Hyde. One of the things that Adam told me when we started working together that I thought was such a good insight was he said, when it comes to marketing, you have to think about the Venn diagram of stuff that works, like you said, that has value, and stuff that you enjoy doing.
Yep.
And ideally you want to focus on the stuff that's both, because there's probably a lot of stuff that you can do for your business that can work. But if you hate doing it day in and day out, and if you can't delegate or automate it, then we all know what that's like as solo business owners, to put time into the business in a way that we don't like or that's frustrating. So
yeah, you feel like you get to a dead end, and that sucks. Like I one of the big reasons I started coming forward with all of these things, and I told this to BuzzFeed and they kind of captured it, and there will be a couple other really cool articles coming out soon, but so stay tuned for that. But I told them I wanted to do this because I just want everyone to be aware. I want everyone to know what landscape they're in. And I don't want anyone to like think that they're struggling on social media and that they're alone. Like, it's everyone. Yeah. Like, there's no one that is doing it perfect. No one is doing it amazing, because everyone is fighting the same uphill battle. Yeah. Honestly, like, let's just say it the way it is. That's what it is. And so I just want to be the person that helps, you know?
Awesome. And we've talked a lot about Instagram. I know that you have, especially recently, become a bigger proponent of Twitter.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about kind of the value that you're seeing in Twitter, and why, you know, I think a lot of, especially creatives, aren't really on that platform so much, but why do you appreciate it as a platform?
Well, I love Twitter because it's a really great way, I think, to build an even closer community. Okay. Twitter is one of these social media platforms where it's so hard to like explain it, but it's one of the only social media platforms I would say currently that has its own serious just Twitter community. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't really know this unless you're on Twitter and you just like are interacting with everyone that's there, because everyone that's there is just looking to interact with everyone else. Yeah. Like, it's a very interactive platform. Whereas Instagram, it kind of feels like post and show off, you know, and kind of leave it there, and it sits and it does what it needs to do. It has a long-term effect. Whereas Twitter, it's like, on my Twitter, I'm posting links to my things. I'm posting jokes. I'm posting memes. I'm tweeting back at people that I care about and starting conversations all across the board. Yesterday, I was talking to my favorite rapper, Watsky, about...
Oh my gosh, no way.
Yeah, he retweeted me yesterday because I talked to him about monetization.
Dude, he's like one of my favorites.
Dude, right? He's so cool. Like, I love
him. And if you haven't heard of Hobo Johnson yet, he's like my new crush right now.
Yeah, and so it's like I go from talking to Watsky to reading tweets from like all my favorite reporters about this new Google Duplex thing, and then reading all the comments about like how people are feeling about it. It's very like, I don't know. The reason I think it's valuable is because of the conversation that you can have there that is just so different than anywhere else.
Yeah.
You'll find a completely new audience there. And maybe it's like, if you're a techie creative like myself, I go there to find out most of my tech news because that's where those people live.
Right. Right. You know, it's really interesting because what I'm hearing you say is that, like, I think a lot of people right now, when they think of a community online, they just kind of get laser focused on a Facebook group. Yeah. Myself included, because I think that that's kind of like the one big space right now that social media allows you to really build a community. But what I'm hearing you say is that, like, especially going back into like manipulating social media, think about all of your accounts as a way to build community. Oh man. Yes. Like, every time you post something on social media, you are posting to your forum. Think about that. Love that. Well, and I love how, you know, kind of building a community on each place. One of the things that I've done, especially kind of in the legal communities that I'm in, is we've all kind of talked and we have set up Feedly accounts, and then we've put each other's like blog posts in on that so that it's easier for us to like in the morning just kind of see what everybody has written for that day or that week so that we can cross promote.
Mm-hmm.
Are there, and for those of you who don't know, Feedly is an awesome kind of way to just kind of say, here are the blogs that I want to follow, and then it makes them pop up in kind of an easy to view and easy to share way. Are there other apps or tools like that that make it easy to share other people's content?
I mean, honestly, that's why I use Twitter. Like whenever I see a cool YouTube video from a friend, I'm like, I have to share this. I'm going to send it out to my followers. Just be like, check this out. It's just kind of like a great spot where I just leave my links. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like,
I think it's really interesting because I think a lot of people have kind of heard, you need to spend a lot of time creating content or documenting, but you also need to spend time like engaging on social media. And I'm really thinking about it in a different way now that we're talking about it, where you're not engaging to engage, but you're doing it intentionally with certain people and kind of having that community. To make that easier for people, like what is that just kind of something that you just kind of do without a real kind of clear system in place, or
like engaging with people?
Yeah. Or do you have like that documented? Like, these are the people that I want to make sure I'm like clicking on their pages so that I'm making sure that I'm seeing their stuff.
Well, I definitely, first off, anyone that reaches out to me, I immediately reach out back. I don't want anyone to feel like they don't have access to me or access to my knowledge or anything. Like, money shouldn't be a barrier between us. Communication shouldn't be a barrier. You shouldn't feel like you can't tweet me or anything like that. I want to respond to everyone.
Yep.
Because I feel like that opens up a lot of doors, and that opens up a lot of, I'm so sorry, my little puppers is having a time over here. But yeah, I feel like it opens up a lot of doors for me, and just because I'm able to talk to anyone. But then sharing content also, that's another great way to build that community we were talking about earlier with another brand. Say another brand makes a really cool piece of content. If you're sharing that, you're supporting them and you're saying like, go you, this is awesome. And then that person is probably way more likely to do that back. And I think that that's one of the biggest things is like the moment you're reaching out to someone else, they're probably going to be more likely to, reach out back. Like
I love it. So Maura Phillips though brings up a really good point. She says, I don't have time to talk to everyone on social media and create.
Yeah, that's true.
And, obviously we all kind of feel that pain of trying to figure out and crack this marketing nugget, and on the same time, do our business and work in our business and service our clients. And there's, limited time every day that we can be on social media. So how are you balancing? Because you've got so much stuff that you're doing.
Yeah.
How are you making time to both kind of show up to create and post, but also engage?
Well, engaging, I'm gonna make a reference to a social media before my time.
Okay.
But top 8. You remember top 8s from MySpace?
Mm-mm.
So on MySpace,
that was before my time too.
On MySpace, I actually never had MySpace, but my friends have explained this to me, and I think it's a really interesting like mindset to think about this in. But your top 8 was like your top 8 friends who you would list on your page. You'd be like, these are my top 8 people, and it would link to their stuff. If you think about the way you engage with people, specifically other creatives in a top 8 type format, and you can be like, okay, these are the people that I'm really going to promote. This is my immediate community that people can associate me with. This is my clique.
I love that. So yeah. So Maura, I guess what I'm hearing Kent say is don't feel like you have to talk to everyone.
Yeah.
Would be the response to that, and kind of figure out the people who you want in your clique that you kind of want to run in your circle. I think that's awesome. Now, and how do you go about picking those people? Is it kind of a mix of just kind of brands that you have come to really like at a deep level, like you mentioned, Converse, as well as kind of business friends who are in a similar space as yours?
Yeah. And I think it's people that I'm able to like relate to.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not always that they relate back. Like there's a lot of YouTubers out there whose videos I just really care about, because I think they make amazing content. And I just want to be like, hey, I support people who make good things. And that is like one of the biggest things for me. So recently I found this YouTuber named Ari. Like Ari and I have talked one time. I tweeted at him. He's a much larger YouTuber than I am. But every time he makes a new video, I post it out because I'm like, I just love this guy's content. And he does like streetwear stuff. And then I also comment on every single post that Converse puts out. And I like love just being with them. So I think choosing that group kind of like can be a cool personality builder for you as well, because then people can like be like, oh, Kent really loves Converse. That's just like a quick fun fact about him. But I kind of maybe know what he was like in high school because he wore Converse a lot, you know?
So who is Ari?
Ari is a streetwear YouTuber. His name is Ari Kagan, Cagan. He makes YouTube videos about streetwear. He's starting a talk show. And I was just like,
so cool.
Dude's starting a talk show. Like, he was like, I'm inspired by all these late night talk shows, but YouTube doesn't have one of those. So I'm going to make one because this is the internet and I can do that. And I was like, yes, it is, Ari. Yes, it is.
Okay, so we got a comment coming in from Blythe. Blythe is, one of my favorites, as well as Aaron, who also commented earlier. Blythe, don't ask her to cook you any food because she's not the best at it, as her social media shows. But she's got a really long comment. I'll read what I can here, and we can pop it up on the screen. I saw something earlier today asking whether the decline in social media following is due to platforms cutting down exposure without paid advertising because they're wanting to make everyone make money to show video views, or whether it's the fact that there are so many companies doing this that it's now becoming comparable to each account being a grain of sand. I think there's a lot of truth to that, Blythe. And sorry, we're cutting, I think, the top against head off. But I think that there's truth to that, Blythe. I think that, as the more businesses that are paying attention to this kind of stuff, organic reach just isn't as helpful as it once was. And I think that, Ken, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that, like, in order to kind of really build a space and get noticed, that you at least need to start investing in paid?
Yeah, I think looking into paid is a great option. So actually, I don't have a ton of experience in paid. Okay. I think that's one of the coolest things about like my time on social media is I've always just kind of fought the battle of like, I'm going to be the content creator who's not going to dive into that just to see what I can learn. And I will always source someone who like does know paid stuff. But I see what you're saying though, where you're seeing a decline like exposure without doing paid stuff. Because they're still businesses. Like we kind of have to acknowledge that, like Twitter is a big one. Like Twitter last night, I was looking at my Twitter analytics and it was like, you would be doing 10 times better if you would put this many dollars into it. And I was like, really? Like I never even considered doing anything like that. Yeah. Like, I don't know. That's just not the game I played. But I hear you because I see brands exploding when they're putting actually good money into paid and making good content and then putting the money behind that.
Got it.
So it's hard to say. Is it Blythe?
I think so. Unless I've been pronouncing it wrong in my head this whole time.
I like that.
Thanks, Blythe, though. That's a really good question.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to think about that more, though.
So we're getting close to the end here. Kent, I know that you've got a couple of social media accounts, especially on Instagram, where people can follow you. What's the main way that people can follow you? And what's your preferred platform right now? I
would love for you to just follow me at Kenteresting on Instagram. It's the one with the blue verified check. Just had to throw that in there. Holla. Shout out JK. Yes.
Who has the pins? I don't have the blue check because I am not that cool.
We'll talk after, Joey. We'll talk.
Cool.
I can make things happen now.
But so at Kenteresting on Instagram.
At Kenteresting on Instagram. I think that's my biggest going off platform because that's the place where I talk about everything. So I'm like, new YouTube video going up here, new clothing drop going on over here, new Twitch stream going on over here. And you'll learn very quickly that I do so many things. And I'm soon about to start posting some of the content that I work with, like with my social media clients. I'm just going to be turning that into content that I'm just going to share there because I just want to tell these stories. Like I'm not here to hide anything. I'm not here to put a barrier in between myself and anyone's learning. I want to help. Like I spend so much time doing all this and I just care about you guys and your learning. Like why can't we all win?
And for people who are interested in potentially working with you and you doing some social media consulting for them, is there a space to direct them yet?
Yes, kenheckel.com. And there's a phone number on there. Feel free to just text me. That is literally my phone number.
Cool. So kenheckel.com. We'll drop that in the comments. Yes. And I think that about covers it. Ken, thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely. This was amazing.
So what we'll do is we'll close this video out soon. Thanks to anybody who tuned in live or is catching the replay. If you have any social media questions for Kent, feel free to drop them in the comments, and Kent and I will probably monitor the comments over the next couple of days.
Yeah,
we'll see what we can to
absolutely
continue to respond to you guys.
Yeah.
And other than that, have a great week. Kent, thanks again, man. This was great.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I was excited. I was excited to do this again.
Awesome.